Could I press continue? Continue.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Lovely.
Okay.
I'm very grateful for the Zooms, you know,
Yeah.
because I will be able to put them all together again after, and extract from the Zooms the things that are going to go in the book. So then it will be kind of nice to have them already there. And then I would not have to start writing the whole thing again from the scratch. So I'm looking forward to that. Today we're going to do, I think that we finished with the fourth dimension. We did 3 Zooms with the fourth dimension. That was a lot, because one was about unity that is spilled into fourth dimension, which was the new conscious and the eternal moment, and presence, the dimension of presence. And it was a lot because remember that we did, in the one before the last, we did the whole scenario of the technology of unity in motion and the knowledge of eternal time. So it was, as I told you before, it was a lot and fantastic because it's everything together. So now that we have it all together, we can go through the pieces again, through the whole scenario, and then fill the gaps in any place that it needs to, in order to add more information, more knowledge, more understanding, more feeling to any of the things that are already designed as being the knowledge of eternal time. And the last time, we said to the knowledge of eternal time was really included the divine. And I think that we talk a lot about the divine, right? It's very important because the divine, without understanding the purpose of it, why the divine exists, as being the entire honoring and fulfillment of the entire spiritual world, of the spiritual disciplines that we have developed through all the years, but also the honoring and fulfillment of art, and the honoring and fulfillment of philosophy, and honoring and fulfillment. They're all the arts that we have developed through time. And they're now ever present in the present moment. So it's a big deal, the ever present in the present moment, because they mean they are not longer subject to the linear process of understanding them. They are already included in the very consciousness that we are. So that is fantastic, because it means that at any one moment, we all have access to it. And the access comes as a direct connotation of the very moment that we are living, without thinking, I have to learn this and I have to learn that, or I have to become better, or I have to become spiritual, blah, blah, blah. The whole thing has become present, and it's divine, because it's beginning to dissolve the linear mind that is constantly projecting time upon a field that is ever present and that is eternal, and that it travels with existence. It moves with all things. So we are becoming present more and more and more. And I said, I use the word becoming. In reality, we are all present already, but I said we are becoming because we are going through different stages of recognizing individually what that is for us. But the difference is that we know that it exists in the present moment. So at any one moment, we can connect with it. Yeah. And it is very subtle what I said, because otherwise, if it doesn't exist in the present moment, we throw it out into space. And I said, okay, I'm going to find out. It's a mystery. I don't know. I'll get it, blah, 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 you know. And we put it back in the annals of philosophy or religion or spirituality. And then we leave it there until the next moment that we see a phrase. And I said, oh, this is wonderful. And then go into it. So that is dissolving. We are the presence of the knowledge of eternal time, which is nothing else. That the knowledge of eternal time is really all the gifts, principles, attributes, treasures that exist in the unity consciousness, and the consciousness of unity that always existed and it will always exist. And they are not subject to the wisdom of time. Remember that I told you last time that it's not subject to the wisdom of time. It is the fulfillment of the wisdom of times, because it is the existence of our life now, not the thought of what is wisdom in relation to some philosophical idea or what are we going to become, but actually the celebration of our own self being the wisdom of time. Excuse me, being the knowledge, the eternal knowledge of time. But if you put the wisdom of time as well, it's okay, because the wisdom of time makes perfect sense now. Yeah. The only difference that the wisdom of time, now that we are in eternal time, is that it's not subject to duality. If a wisdom of time tell you, oh, you know, we're going for a very hard time and it's going to be battles and the dark forces are going to come to the planet and we don't know, and environment is going to collapse and maybe we don't live here anymore and maybe whatever. If all those things coming into the present moment, you know that that's not the wisdom of time. Whereas the wisdom of time, as it was innocently divided or compartmentalized inside of the linear mind. Because in the present moment, each of us are creating reality. So we don't witness maladies happening. We are actually the release of the malady or whatever that is, you know what I mean? So we don't entertain the consciousness inside of the possibility of the nightmare, when in reality we are the sanity that is clearing up all nightmare completely. That's our function. It's not our function, it's who we are. Yeah, it's what we are. We are the renewal of the consciousness, the divine nature of the new human. It's beautiful. So anyway, I would like to, if it's possible, to go then a little bit into just for a few moments, into the blog, to go into the dimension of balance. Yeah, it's okay? Wonderful. So now I'm going to go share the screen and then share one more time. And here we are now in the first graphic. Oh, I'm in trouble. I cannot go down. Let me see. Oh, here I am. Yeah, so this is the first graphic. This is what we're going to do today, balance and maybe beauty. And we put the heart here because the balance and beauty are centralized by love. You know, is that this is the field of energy. This is the field of consciousness, the purple or pink. And this is the field of physical reality. Yeah. And they are divided in three because we present three facets of our human awareness. But in reality, the realm of consciousness encompasses the realms of energy and the realms of physical existence. And the realm of energy encompasses the realms of consciousness and the physical existence. And last, the physical existence encompasses energy and encompasses consciousness. It's all one. But we would, through our evolution, we didn't know what that was. You know, what is the union of those senses? So we were innocently, in some way, spending time in consciousness, and we became professors or something. And then in the energy, we became saints, you know, saintly, you know, love, you know, experience. And then another time, we became just physical, you know, survival, blah, 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 blah. This is the time that we are all together now. And this is the three senses of the self. And this balance, beauty, and self, which we don't have the name yet here, which we will next soon. That will be the second triad. Yeah. Remember, just to recapitulate, that the first triad is that one, crown, consciousness, and unity. The second triad is balance, beauty, and self. The third triad is whole nature, infinite regeneration, and foundation paradise. Those are the three triads, yeah? And then the fourth dimension, presence, unite the three senses of the self. And the seventh dimension, self, is the fulfillment of the self, which is the fulfillment of everything. I don't know if you're redundant to repeat that to you, but it's okay. Do you understand what I mean by this? We have to go on many times, but I keep repeating it because sometimes when we see all those things, we see them as one thing. But if we see them in the linear process of understanding what each function is, then it helps us not to make of the 10 dimensions a soup. So the 10 dimensions becomes individual expressions of the whole field that is life. That's the knowledge of eternal time. Is every single component of the realms of unity is essential for the mind to be able to function inside of its unity, and then to be able to make sense of the physical world that we live in moment by moment in our lives from the perspective of unity. So we don't go back and forth and forward and back into the realms of duality, unity, and so forth. We remain in the realms of unity, not because we want to. It's just that the realms of unity is actually the moment of existence from which all consciousness travel into the new becoming, which is a universal creation, God, the experience of perfection. So anyway, that's where we are. So far, so good. This the three senses of the self, then the fourth dimension, and then the self. Yeah. And balance, we're going to go into balance now. Can I continue? Do you think you're right with me so far? No question? Yes, okay. So I'm going to go into the second. I'm going to go first a little bit back here. Let me see the dimension of balance. The dimension of balance, I'm going to stay here for a second more. The dimension of balance is really actually a divine event that occur in the moments of the harmonic convergence. But to explain that, I have to go back again. Remember that I said to you that the 10 dimensions are simultaneous expressions of the unity of life. So the word simultaneous means that occur within the same moment. They are not linear in terms of linear progression, even though we understand it now in a linear progression, in order to allow the mind to exist inside of the simultaneous state. But they are not linear in the same quantitative meaning. They are all perfect, and they all represents the moment itself. Crown represents the fountain of life, the moment of existence, the renewal of all things. Consciousness is the awareness in which the renewal of all things make any sense. Yeah. Then unity is the spirit that brought the consciousness back and reunited consciousness and crown and the spirit into the Trinity of life. Remember the Trinity of three dimensions, the Trinity of that is the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, and so forth. All the Trinities became present in the moment itself. And then presence, I said to you last time, that when it became present in the moment of harmonic convergence, it became like a flash of light that permeated everything into one instant. And that was the birth of the new consciousness. Because we were no longer subject to time, we were inside of the eternal existence. The field of wholeness that always existed, the field of wholeness that we were going to return to, we said that we will return to, and the field of wholeness that we are now present in the new consciousness of life. So balance, and the moment that happened, the present completed itself into an instantaneous moment, balance for the first time became what it is. The eternal moment of universal existence in which all things are related, united, existing as one. So I'm going to say again, balance became for the first time what always was and it will always be, the moment of eternal existence that unite all things as one, in which the universe is unfolding as one. Remember that we call it universal, one verse, one unity. So balance became real for the first time. Because in our human evolution, balance was a mystery. We know that the buildings are balanced. We know that things are balanced when they are equal. We know, we understand the necessity, the treasure, the divine gift that balance is, because that's what always everybody wanted forever. We were searching for balance. But they were searching for balance in a realm of opposite perceptions and awareness. So just about everything in the consciousness was divided between one and the other. So we thought in our human unfolding that balance was equanimity, and that therefore we were always searching to try to find a way that we come to the center of things, and then in the center of things we will become free from the confusion that existed between the premises, polarized premises, that they were going back and forth forever, back and forth. The balance it was in our evolution very elusive, because we get temporarily in equanimity and perfect, and then all of a sudden something happened and we go back into a realm because we needed to learn more. So we go to an extreme, and then the extreme becomes the other side of it, and so forth and so forth. So for the first time, when all the fourth dimensions here became the fifth one right there, the moment itself becomes the reality, and they became balance. So it becomes the union of all polarized premises. We thought the balance will be the making peace or polarized premises, because it was the center. But in reality, balance is not the peace. It's actually what transcends that idea and puts that in the real context. And the real context of that idea is that everything is perfect, is inside of knowledge, is inside of love, is inside of consciousness, is inside of unity, is inside of the physical reality, is inside of yourself. Everything travels with creation in the unfolding of the perfection that some of us carry as the memory of the Garden of Eden. Or some of us carry as the understanding that through the evolutionary aspects of the species, the brain will open to some capability in which we will have access to a greater intelligence, that it will no longer be divided within itself by fragmenting the brain and its awareness inside of the realms of duality. So balance became a divine thing, and balance became the eternal moment. Everything is the eternal moment in the consciousness. Crown only happens, the fountain only happens in the eternal moment. Consciousness, it exists within the moment, perfect moment. Unity is the actual existence. The spirit is the actual existence of the moment. Presence is the new consciousness as it actually physically exists within the moment. And balance is really actually that divine sense of reality that interconnected all things inside of the reality of balance and free all things from the realms of cause and effect. So that is the reason that balance is so divine. And that is the reason when balance appears as a reality, even though it was simultaneous, it allows us to understand that we're in the present moment. It allows us to understand for the first time that we were in the realms of unity, which was a big deal, because we didn't know what the unity was. We thought the unity had to do with everybody will become religious, everybody will become a good person, and the whole world will become, I mean, we all have different ideas, but we didn't know what that was, the realms of unity. We didn't know what the realms of consciousness was, because it was a mystery, because consciousness was divided inside of duality. And we didn't know we didn't have a full access of understanding, comprehension, and experience of the fountain, which is the field of energy that became fully available for all of us in the moment that we reconnected with our essential nature, the fountain of life. So I'm going to return to balance then for a second here. Let me see. It's okay. Can I continue? Do you have any questions about the idea of balance in here? Balance being the most divine, and the evolution was acknowledged as being the most precious thing that you can attain, because you will attain equanimity, and it will be almost synonymous with love, because we were all in evolution. The main thing that we were always searching was for love, because love is all there is. But we didn't know, because the mind, the emotion, and the physical existence most of the time, and sometimes we're not synchronized with each other. So we were emotional sometimes, we were mental sometimes, physical in other times. So anyway, we're going back into 3 dimensions. So balance brought us to the presence of 3 dimensions. And it brought us to the presence of the sphere. That's what it means that the Trinity became for us the reality of being inside, outside, and the center moment of life. So 3 dimensions for the first time became our union with the universe, instead of an idea that we never really fully understood. You know, we know that everything is three-dimensional, but we didn't know what that meant. So three dimension became our union with everything, including our unions with ourselves. And as the sphere, there is a wonderful document in the sphere called the sphere in Wikipedia. There is a treasure. I had it for many years, and I found it and I said, oh, wonderful. But when I look at it the other day, it's a little bit different because in Wikipedia, everything keeps changing. So I suggested that you go to the site and read a little bit. It gets confused sometimes because it becomes mathematical equations. It becomes here from the perspective of physics, and then the mind cannot handle it a little bit because you have to be specialized in that knowledge in order to be able to really make sense what that means. But you can get the gist of what that is and an essential nature of your being, and you can understand it. What they say that the sphere is the most beautiful of all designs that exist in nature. Of course, because it is in reality, it is the planet Earth, you know, it is the existence of every celestial body that is making the perfect environment from which we live. It's the existence of the sun, which is the electrical energy from which we all live. It makes the existence of everything. And the knowledge of time has told us that the sphere is the smallest particle of form. The teachers in the ancestry told us that a grain of sand contained the universe. And at that time, we didn't know what that was, because until physics arrived and recognized that in quantum physics, you can pass through the smallest particle and discover an extraordinary world inside, in which the particle cell contains a universe, and the universe contains the particle. So it became a perfect, that's what physics gave us as the last gift before the harmonic convergence. So it is the most beautiful, beautiful of all things. I have it, and I adore it, because whenever time I look to the sphere, of course, you know, I have a sphere that is in the center. I am here in the center. I understand that all those radios in here are really, that's the center of the sphere. That will be love. That will be the throat. That will be presence. That will be the throat. That will be, you know, all the stages of consciousness exist inside of the sphere, as you know. And because the sphere is actually at the center, is the formation of the tree of life. We have talked about that, so I don't want to take you too much time into that. You remember that we discussed it. The tree of life is the longitude and the latitude of the sphere. So whenever, as we embody the metrics and embody the tree of life in our practice, we are coming into correspondence with the sphere of life. And in the moment that we're coming into correspondence of the sphere of life, we are then, for the first time, we get to understand that the spatial centralization of the sphere give us the point from which we can expand without having to contract in ourselves to create an effort of expansion. Because the sphere is natural. It's natural means that it's happened. It's not something that I can connect to the sphere. I said, okay, come sphere, because it is actually the natural synchronization of my inner sense of self with my outer sense of self. The sphere of gravity, as I told you, the sphere of expansion, and the center movement of life. Yes. Now, the sphere, the center of the sphere, is the center of balance. And the sphere is created. Let me just read you a little bit here what it says. The sphere is a perfectly round, geometrical, and circular object in three-dimensional space that resembles the shape of a completely round ball, like a circle, which in geometric context is in two dimensions, a sphere. It's just in two dimensions. I don't know if this is needed. I'm reading it correctly, which in geometric context is in two dimensions. A sphere is defined mathematically as the set of points that are all equal distance. Is that here? The set of points that is all equal distance. What it means is that, it means that the distance from this, when you define a given point in a space, the distance to any single point in a space is equal, absolutely equal. That's what it make a sphere. So then the equality of all the directions of the space simultaneous makes the center and the circumference. This is what happens to us when we begin more and more to define the centers of our being. Then the center becomes the natural distance from the sphere, from which everything becomes equal, all directions. And then we are inside of balance, inside of the center of balance. This is linear, what I'm telling you, but the mind understanding, it helps you to comprehend the practice and the movements and the consciousness itself. The center of the sphere, right here, the horizontal and the vertical, right here. If you're thinking that this is 0, and you divide it in 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 is the center, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 is the completion of it. And then the center of the sphere is 5. Yes, 5 meaning the center of 10, but also the center of the sphere itself. In this particular analogy, the center of the sphere goes 3 above, the 3 centers above, if this is the heart. The center above will be the shoulders, this is the throat, and this is the crown. And the center below from the heart, this will be the solar plexus, this will be the pelvis, and this will be the pelvic floor. Those are the 7 centers that make up the vertical line of space, gravity, and expansion that allow us to be inside of the sphere. So 5, the 5th dimension, is actually the presence of balance itself. Balance being the moment of eternal existence in which the universe is expanding into infinity. The moment itself being completely being the one thing that we are connecting now in the new consciousness. We are in the presence of the moment. And the presence of the moment is actually our union with all things, our union inside of the new consciousness, the knowledge of eternal time, our reunion with ourselves, our union with all the different aspects of our human existence that they are now being experienced as fulfillment, because we are now inside not only of our human self, but we are inside of the universe. And we are, for the first time, inside of the creation of all things, not only emoting the natural unfolding of our human experience, but we are emoting the actual unfolding of the universe, the natural creative unfolding of the universe. It's completely different. The unfolding of our human experience in evolution was very complex because we were constantly in a realm that it was constantly bombarded by, in some degree, out of the need to completion, into many stages of completed premises, trying to make sense of everything in a field that in reality was always united. So now that we are back into the field of unity, everything that it was confusing, everything that it was creating any kind of disharmony within ourselves is finally coming into a place of perfect unification from which we can get to experience what that is and become free from the very energy that it was in some degree ruling us, because it was the mind system that it was projecting into ourselves many stages of reaction that never were really actual ours. So we were constantly reacting inside of a system of consciousness that never really was part of our essence. But it was the only thing that through the process of discovery, connecting, unfolding, expanding the mind through time, until from Genesis until the moment they became united, that it would allow us to understand the totality of living in a completely new field of consciousness, at the same time that we can understand the entire process that we have lived through as we were in the realms of evolution. This is a big deal because it's not that all of a sudden we are in a new realm and here we are. It's that also being in the new realm assists us to understand everything, to feel everything, to perceive everything without being subject to that particular experience of contraction, but understanding it, transforming it, uniting it, bringing into a new life. Everything becomes changed, transformed, and renewed through the natural awareness of our individual consciousness. We are the God itself. We are each of us is the thing that is changing the world into changing. It would not be the word. Let me see, because you can say change because we acknowledge that life has changed and change is movement. But we can say what we're really doing is bringing everything from inside out into the recognition of its natural state. So it's not that we're going to become our natural state. We are already unfolding until we meet the moment itself, each of us, and then the natural state becomes the moment of creation. The natural state is the moment of creation. Let me get out of here for a second, so then I can see you a little bit. Ellen, how do I get out of here?
You're gonna stop your share.
Stop the share, yes, thank you. Stop the share because I would like to see you personally and not leave. And now share screen, right? But we are already in the share.
You're already in there. You're in there. Huh? You're good. You're fine.
You're good. You're good.
Yeah,
so I would like to be with you now a little bit. Do you understand what the difference is us not being subject to the continuity of the unfolding of the consciousness inside of its own projection or confusion of time, and being inside of the consciousness that is now balanced, that is no longer discussed between one and the other, and it's now recreating ourselves, consciousness, partaking of the same reality of the whole universe, unfolding as one, and recreating the very thing that we call the universe, and recreating the very thing that we call the field of God. God being the greater intelligence that is all permeating, that we suspected that always existed, but now we are connected to it. That's the knowledge of eternal time. We are the very intelligence that we always perceive, but now we are inside of it. So it's an extraordinary thing. So we are inside of the realms of balance. And what that means is that the realm of balance sees everything, and a whole understanding of what has been is a natural attribute. It's not something that you have to do. Each of us already have it. You understand everything. And when you understand everything, you transform it because you know their nature already. You know the new reality that existed inside even of the being. And you bring it to the surface without not even thinking about it. It is the nature of your consciousness to be the renewal of all things. And in the moment that we do that, we are recreating ourselves anew, of course, because that's who we are. But this recreation of things anew is natural. And this is something that takes a little bit of time. It's not something that we do as a labor, oh, I'm going to change the world and I'm going to change everybody and I'm going to go on the street, you're saved and you're wonderful, blah, 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 blah. Because if you do that, you're crazy, because then what happens is you superimpose in the moment the very reality that is the reality. So you superimpose innocently with something wrong, and then you recreate it at the same time that you would like to save it. So this is perhaps the most complex thing that we need to really, not complex, something that we need to spend time with it, to contemplate it, because in the moment that we innocently, okay, the new consciousness existing within the realms of balance moves with everything, exists with everything, transforms everything, and it doesn't have two frames. It doesn't have the frame that it returns to see what it is and then catches up. It is the frame of existence. It is the eternal moment. It is the field of balance. So it's one inside of the whole, and the whole is the one. It's the whole field within the whole field within the whole field. So for us, it's complex because in the realms in which our mind was created, the evolutionary mind, it goes always and always back again and trying to change it, trying to transform it, and have a discussion, trying to get blah, blah, blah. It was always in some way delay because it was always trying to figure out a way in which it can repair it, it can fix it, it can create peace, it can create political compromise, it's, all those things. So the mind was always engaged in trying to repair something that, of course, it was well intended because that's our nature. But in the repairing, as I say, we were suffering because we were photographing the same energy and recreating the same energy that was recreating us inside of the field itself. So when the field of balance came into existence, the fifth dimension came into existence, then we were free from that particular program of the mind. And for the first time, we get to be in a field that is completely new, that it changes everything, that is beautiful, that is fantastic, that it is energetic, that is all the attributes of life are present as the moment itself. They are not things that we are going to create. They are things as they are. So it's a completely different thing. So it required a little bit of time of contemplation for us, because the sacrificial nature and the guilt nature and the righteous nature and the desire for good and this desire for sainthood and the idea that spirituality, if we are good, we're going to get to the kingdom of heaven, or we're going to live in paradise instead of going to hell with the Satan, with all the fires and everything, forever burning into the realms of madness. So all that, it doesn't exist. It's all the solution of it. But that was the makeup in which our consciousness was trying to constantly make sense of everything. So it was a big labor for all of us, even though some of us really created a specific idea of our life and live in a specific cocoon. What I'm talking to you about is about the whole realm of human consciousness. Yes, not just only the personal itself. The whole realm of consciousness was always recreating itself in the search to evolve, either to become finally free from the mind that it was contracted, or either to return back to the original imprint, which was Genesis inside of the garden. So both are the same, but that was what we always were searching. So each of us created our own interpretation of that inside of our own personality. But what we're talking about, we're talking both about the individual interpretation inside our own personality and then the collective consciousness of human, what is called human, the design of image and the likeness of God, that encompasses all things, encompasses all nationalities, encompasses all colors, encompasses the divine nature of human, period. So in the evolution of our human species, it wasn't just our evolution of individual, it was also the evolution at the same time of the entire human race. And in some places became more actualized, and some places became more complex, because as we know, in certain places in the world, life wasn't a bed of roses, it was very complex. We didn't have freedom. America was the place that we were told in the beginning, or at least in my sense when I left Argentina, that for me to do what I was supposed to do, which is perceive the new consciousness, I needed to come to America, because in my country it would be impossible. Because in my country, the tradition, the European tradition, and all the different aspects of consciousness were so concrete that it would be impossible to be able to do it there. So I came to the new world, which everything was a little bit crazy and so evolved and so free, and at the same time so chaotic sometimes and so forth. But I knew that America would be the place from which we will be able to begin to become present. And what I mean by that, I don't mean again to create hierarchy for other nations, because now everyone in different nations are becoming present. But America was the place in which we had the most possibility of express ourselves in a way that it was not so rigid inside of a specific understanding of our human consciousness. Yeah. So anyway, where am I now? I'm back into the understanding that the new consciousness that we have is something that it lives with existence. It doesn't do nothing other than being present with the transforming nature of all things. But the transforming nature of all things is actually the consciousness. It's the consciousness, universal consciousness. It's the consciousness of God. It's the consciousness of you. It's the real you, the real me, the essence of human that has become once again present within the planet Earth, as it always was inside of its original imprint, but as it is now reinstated in his relationship to life. So this is a big deal when I'm saying to you that the original imprint, as it was always existing within my memory, we all humans carry, but it was never reinstated to the moment that it can once again reconnected to life as the awareness of creation, instead of innocent diverted inside of the dream of time. Yeah, and the diversion of the dream of time, our human existence, excuse me, most of the only vision that it will have, well, one will be to be happy, which is a divine thing. Another one be to connect to God, which is another divine thing, but it was very complex because of religious ideas and so forth. And the third one was that we didn't have a vision. What does it mean for me, human, to be connected inside of life as a creative entity that is not bound by any beliefs, systems, dogma, ideas that constantly keep me back into the same system repeating itself, trying to find his way of freedom. So the freedom that we're talking about is actually my natural engagement with life itself that has three connotations. My human reality, in which the perfect moment becomes happiness, because everything inside of synchronicity was meant to give you everything that you need. Love, which is the feeling of you, who you really are, partaking of the feeling of energy, partaking of the mind of energy, and partaking of the greater mind that is universe, that is 100% benign. It's the mind of God. Yeah. And then consciousness is complex to talk about it because we are inside of the universal consciousness. So the universal consciousness is much larger than the human consciousness that we have. It's actually the part of our brain that is now, for the first time, partaking or being synchronized with the greater mind that is the universe. That is fantastic because he knows all things, feels all things, is all things, but it is enormous in his extraordinary field, but it's also present within myself, even though innocently in the moment I cannot yet, thank God, I cannot partake of it because I will explode into pieces because it's so much. But I'm conscious that I'm present with it, and the divine energy, life, will bring me constantly to the understanding of that particular field as I live life, as I live every single moment. And it will be reflected in the most simple actions of your human lives, and also to your most exalted expressions of your mind. Your mind will begin to comprehend. That's the reason science is beginning to comprehend how you create all kinds of things to help us to be well. And in the human life, everything in the simple things of the human mind, food, life, beauty, your life, your people, the friends that you like, celebration, everything is becoming more and more present as you partaking of a greater reality that is associated with happiness. Happiness. Happiness means nothing other than you are experiencing the energy of life as it existed in the garden and as it now is now present within the moment of your earthy human life. It's a lot, but it's happiness. Yeah, it's that we came here. All men were created equally. What was the three words for freedom, life, freedom, and the pursuit of happiness? Yeah, beautiful. Pursuit of happiness, and that story is the pursuit of happiness. Now we are inside of happiness. Yeah. And the moment you get up in the morning, you open your eyes, you are inside of the field of happiness, even though you may not register and say, oh no, it's a bummer, I don't feel too good, I have to do all those things, blah, blah, blah. You may go there, but no, the field of happiness is ever present. So if you begin to understand that you are inside of the field of happiness, it's fantastic, because you're going to get up in the morning and your mind tell you, okay, go now, brush your teeth, get do this, do that, whatever you're going to do, it's going to be different because you are in the presence of the thing itself, instead of innocently being a little bit automaton. Yeah, zombies. Remember, we created the zombies really for the last 20 years. So the zombies that we created in the movie is a natural expression of the innocent way that we were experiencing life as zombies, because we were doing everything without not knowing that we were doing it. We were just acting up the moment. And of course, sometimes we had moments of transcendence, of love and clarity, but we were back and forth, So, but now is the first time that we are no longer inside of the realms. We are in the realm of happiness. Happiness means the moment of existence as it exists in the presence of life. The moment of existence as it exists in the presence. So everything is happiness, yeah? And happiness then in your present becomes a whole field, because in the simplistic nature is everything around you, the house, going to shop and everything. And the whole nature is actually the motion of the universe expanding into infinity. Everything is happiness, evolving, expanding, connecting, recreating, perfection, yeah? And inside of happiness, in that larger degree, balance, the mind is the whole mind. So when it sees everything, it sees the solution. It doesn't see the problems anymore. So I told you that before, but it's important that I say it again. In the presence of balance, you don't see the resolution between the conflicts. You see this already the byproduct of the unity. And then the unity itself is what it shows you, the innocent confusion that existed between the completed premises. It's a completely different mind. Yeah, it's not the mind that's trying to become equanimity between this and that, because that creates enormous, created an enormous amount of information from which we refine the mind through the devil's advocate. Remember the devil's advocate? The mind, the farther that the intellect will go inside of the mind of evolution was to get to the point, and it says, well, maybe you're entertained that what you're really thinking is not right either, and what about this and what about that? He could never really arrive to the moment in which he really knows the reality is. So that's where it got dissolved in the balance, in the moment of balance. Equanimity equanimity in the moment it occurred, it becomes the reconnection with the union of all things. So it became the existence of 3 dimensions as a reality, and the connection of 4th dimensions, the movement of life, and then in balance, which is the continuity, 3 dimensions, 4th dimension, the movement of life, and balance, the 5th dimension being the fulfillment of life, in which everything is fulfilled. So can you imagine, we are in another universe, and everything that you see is being fulfilled, yeah? And the reason that I'm telling you this, and the reason that I'm spending time to be with you, is because it is important for the mind to comprehend that you are not fixing anything. You are transforming everything. It's a different thing. Do you understand? Anytime you're fixing something, you transform it into labor. And every time that you transform it into labor, you distort it. You distort it because you bring it back to the same realm in which the conflict is existing, thinking that if you give it enough energy, the conflict eventually will be dissolved. But that was the story of the entire process, and it became fulfilled. So now we don't have that story. We are not fixing anything. We are the transformation of everything. Yes. And then the information of what that transformation is, it comes into your mind in the very moment of your existence for each of us. You can't generalize, because it will try to tell you you're going to transform this and this and this and this. It's too complex, because the mind is going to create, these are things that I have to do. I mean, I have to create peace. I have to create well-being. I have to heal the planet. I have to, of course, you're going to do that, but it's going to show up in the moment different. You know what I mean? You're going to be in the house and you're going to see a plant that it needs to be watered in that moment. And you said, oh, darling, you need water. I mean, I'm going to put you a little bit of vitamin. And the moment you put the plant, you change in the whole universe, because the plant is living in the moment of existence. It's not living in the linear moment. It's not living in the moment that it is innocently dualistic. Yeah? It's the moment of existence. So balance is a big, 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 big deal, because it is for the fulfillment of your human life, but also the fulfillment of all things. It's unbelievably beautiful. It's fantastic. And it has many, many, many applications, but the word applications is not the word. It will show up itself in your house when all of a sudden you said, okay, I would like to put this object here instead of here, because everything around will show you that that's the symmetry that corresponds to your moment, and you will change it. I said, oh, how wonderful, I feel great, everything is good. It will show up in the moment that you call a friend and you tell them, I love you, it's wonderful, I'd like to see you, blah, 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 blah. And said, oh, I see, I'm creating this connection that is ever present, because in quantum entanglement, everything is ever present. And you are actualizing the ever present through the reality of love. And then if somebody needs something and you can assist it, you'll do it. And if something shows up in the news that it says, okay, the Israelis in this moment are trying to going through a very difficult moment because Netanyahu is going to be out, and now certain people are trying to get a new government because they're trying to become free from this constant punching that existed between opposite poles, between the Israelis and the Palestinians. You know what I mean? So eventually, naturally, it's going to come a moment without me doing anything, because it already happened, they're going to wake up and I say, no, we can't continue this war, because we keep recreating continuously, thinking that it will be a moment the one aspect of the duality will take control, and then it will make peace by having certain control over the other. But the balance doesn't exist. It's not that way. Balance means that everything is absolutely equal, equanimity, that is wonderful, that is perfect, that is divine. So I don't need to spend too much time in understanding what's happening in Israel, or even though I listen to the news, but I know why it's occurring, because we are becoming more and more present, understanding that the very things that we did in the past to trying to create something doesn't work anymore, that we have to get to the essence, because everyone is awakening to the essence. And the essence is that we are all one, that we all can partake of happiness and freedom, and that we are all recreating or creating the new world, which will be the natural world that corresponds to the universal existence, not that correspond to the evolutionary of the species, to the universal, because the species become completely complete in the moment that we're reconnected with the intelligence that is universe. Because the learning becomes the unfolding our brain. Our brain opens into the light continuously and then manifests itself inside of you or outside through the information, to understanding the transformation that you as human are partaking in your becoming, and you are human are transforming as the world, because the transformation of the world can only come through the consciousness that is you. But again, when I use transformation, it's complex, because the word transformation, again, feel like something is wrong, that it needs to be transformed. Transformation is the natural attribute of life that occurs within the moment of balance. Transformation is the natural attribute of life that occurs within the moment of balance. The moment of balance is absolute, it's ever present, it's perfect. That's the reason it's called the eternal moment. The moment of balance is transformed, because at the same time that is becoming. At the same time, not that is and then it becomes, is the moment of 3 dimensions. Is becoming and moves. Is the very nature in which our mind our three-dimensional mind began to form itself as the design called human. We are three-dimensional beings, and the three-dimensionality of our being is the mind, three dimensions that understand that is, become, and transforms at the same time. That's what happened in my physical body. Every single moment, like, you know, even I cannot even acknowledge it, because the acknowledges it makes it adds time, you know, adds time to it, and it misses it. So the reality that we're talking about is almost before consciousness, before awareness, because it happened before the mind even registered. But number two, consciousness can really understand it. And if you understand it, you can be present. We cannot be present into something that we cannot understand. It's complex, because then present, as I said, is just part of nature. But if we are present, then we really understand it. We really are. We really, you know, everything was consciousness. Yeah, in that sense, everything is consciousness, becoming conscious of itself. But remember that the atomic nature, light itself, is happening even before that. Or let's put it that way, it's happening as 10 different expressions at the same time. Light is happening as consciousness, the knowledge. It happens as unity, which is the union of consciousness and light. It happens as the moment of your physical life, the moment of your awareness. It happens as the understanding of balance, which is your connection to all things, because you are the balance. My nature is balance. I can't become balanced. My nature is balance. So when you practice the movements, what you're really doing is you're reuniting your sense of balance. So I acknowledge it's really balance. Ultimately, is nothing other than my connection to three dimensions and the sphere of life, what I already am. But the consciousness of that, as it becomes present, it dispels any possibility of misunderstanding, and it brings to you the knowledge that it can never be taken away. The knowledge of eternal time can never be taken away, because it's the knowledge of existence, it's the knowledge of God. Yes, so that's amazing. So then, again, as I said, the knowledge of eternal time, the fourth dimension, becomes the moment of balance of your being, which is not something that you're going to become, but it's something that you are. And balance is a beautiful, beautiful thing, because it applies to structure, it applies to form, it applies to color, it applies to you, of course, the balance of your entire system. You know, you are the health of life. Inside of balance, as you understand that you are the nature of balance, yeah, then you're healthy. Yeah, because every single moment you're partaking of the whole energy. Your mind is constantly being present, happy. You cannot be unhappy and balanced. You know, it's crazy, because what we call unhappiness is a form of imbalance. Yeah, and then we call it in the past, we have called it mental illness, or we call it emotional instability, and then physical pain. Those are the three things that we innocently suffer out of not being understanding that we are the balance itself. Balance is completely sane, it's completely loving because it's love, and it's completely free from any confusion physically, because the system that we call physical body is a system within itself that exists as harmony in the presence of balance. All the organs are absolutely in the presence of balance every single moment. So again, you don't have to do anything. All you have to really do, if you do something, is to recognize when you go to bed. Oh, how lovely. I'm going to go for a few hours to reinstate everything in the presence of balance. And when I get up in the morning, I'm going to say, oh, how lovely. I love you. It's wonderful, fantastic. And life is happiness. Here I go. Go. And then every single moment, somebody will call you, something you'll do, your mind tell you, you got to go to the closet, because in the closet, you put something there that you forgotten that you have it, and it needs to be taken it out. So go to the closet, take that thing, wash it, whatever. Your mind will inform you constantly about everything that you need to do. If you need is another word, everything that corresponds to the harmony of your present presence, your present presence. Yeah, so it will tell you everything. So all you are totally connected to everything. Yes. But happiness is the most fantastic thing. Happiness is a very important thing. Yes. There are three senses that we recover through the consciousness. Happiness first, because if we are not happy, forget it. Everything is laborious. Yeah. If you're not happy, we are a little zombie. That's what I mean. We are disconnected innocently. So happiness. The second is being in the presence of God. Being in the presence of God means nothing other than being in the presence of unity, because everything you and everything outside and inside are one, and you are connected. Being in the garden, that's what I mean, being in the garden. Being in the presence of God. And then the third one, being reconnected to the eternal voyage, that is the eternal nature of life, the universe. The eternal is a voyage, a larger voyage, a divine voyage, because that voyage, as we become connected, everything, any problem in the planet Earth, and it's nothing. We'll fix it right now. Let's go. Nothing is problematic inside of the greater field, because the greater field is so much larger than the problem itself, and everything can be resolved. And even though if the ones that they are treating with the problem, and you're witness that, you can understand that even in the treatment of the problem as duality, they are becoming resolved, because you are looking at them. And I said, hey, you don't even have to say, yeah, it is already resolved. So get up, get out. Get out means become aware, infuse awareness. So everybody gets to get up in the morning and get up and go to bed at night and get up in the morning and recognize, oh, I see, this problem doesn't exist. We can fix it right now. Yeah. The Israelis and the Palestinians can be fixed immediately. All you have to do is, first, you have to really make certain arrangements that nobody is going to kill anybody else. They're going to say, okay, we want to live in peace. That's what I mean. Second is that we all have to be happy. So what do we need to be happy? First, that everybody is secure. Second, that everybody then understand that we are recreating together a new life, and everybody partakes. Yes. And then when everybody partakes of the new life, naturally, everything that is going to show up is going to be beautiful, because everything, the environment is going to become present. Everything will become much, much more naturally divine. And everybody will start immediately getting happy, of course, because you cannot be happy if you are insecure. You can't be happy if you are emotionally unstable. You can't be happy if your emotional body is not fulfilled. You cannot be happy if you don't have the things that you need in the present moment to feel like you're nourished, that you can eat, and so forth. So all those things are being present within the consciousness, but the very nature of your awareness. So you are the awareness that repairs all things. You are not the action that, of course, the action will follow, but you are not only the action. You are the awareness. Yeah. So what I'm very difficult to convey with you, but I think I'm okay. That I'm conveying with you that the consciousness is the new you, the new consciousness, the new world, the new love, the new happiness, the new everything. And that represents the background of whole understanding, in which your consciousness lives the knowledge of eternal time. Yeah. So the knowledge of eternal time is extraordinarily important, because remember that in the spiritual evolution of our consciousness, because it was ancient, because it shall contain the entire ancient recycle of forever human trying to grow and trying to evolve and trying to find the way home. The way that it was interpreted inside of the tradition was as yugas. You know what the yugas are? Yugas are the times in which a project. In the Indian tradition, for example, think that it will be like 10,000, a yuga, that it will be 10,000 prosperity, but then it will go into darkness again, and then it will be again 10,000 of evolving, and then everything will become again primal and so forth. So the knowledge of eternal time doesn't have that, because the knowledge of eternal time It doesn't have division between dualities. It is the perfection of its own existence. It always has been, and it will always will be. So the knowledge of eternal time is fantastic because it is the whole content and context of your mind living in eternity without having to be subject to the comings and the going of the innocent interpretation of the dualistic frames of reference from which we all have formed ourselves. So the yugas don't exist anymore. That's the reason that I said to Isabel the last time, karma doesn't exist anymore, because karma got released in the moment they will return home, that we are in the knowledge of eternal time. So you can begin to make sense about what eternal time means for you. But if you want to, we can work, we can be with it more. And if you ask questions, because eventually it's very simple, but also it is all encompassing. It's not simplistic. It is extraordinarily diverse, but everything relates into celestial mind, this crown, consciousness, if it is understanding it is not divided inside of its mind. So it is partaking of the whole system that constantly brings solutions to all things. It is unity, because unity is, unity is not, it is the reality itself. It's the united nature of consciousness with the source, the Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Spirit, it was called in that time, but it is actually crown, consciousness, and unity. Crown, the moment of creation, consciousness, the awareness of what that is, unity, the whole understanding of that understanding inside of itself as one, three-dimensional, the nature of our human consciousness. Yeah, then as a fourth dimension, fantastic. You know, the new consciousness is a divine. Is that the 21, let me see, the 13 names. The 13 names is a wonderful thing. So if you have time, spend time in the 13 names, because it's the whole scenario in which your mind comprehends the nature of the new consciousness. Because in the beginning, when you use the word new consciousness, okay, it means new consciousness, but what does it mean, the new consciousness? Of course, it means what it says. It is the new, the word new, it means new, right? It doesn't mean a new interpretation, it means new. And then consciousness, it means consciousness. The new consciousness is ever present, the new consciousness. Yeah, it's important because we never been in the new consciousness. We always had been in the search for the consciousness. Remember Messiah, the idea of the Messiah was to bring out the new consciousness in which the whole human race will be able to really be once again in the realms of happiness, or the realms of connecting to God, or the realms of beauty, whatever you wanted to call it. Yeah. So then balance is the realm of your human fulfillment. And it has two aspects: your human self and the universe, and the collective self. Collective, because we're all one, right? But remember that we made the linear part of our consciousness created a distance between us and the Israelis that live in Israel, or the people who live in Turkey, or the people who live in different areas of America, and the people who have money, the people who don't have money, the people who are very high intellect, the people who are innocent ignorance, the people who are, we created all those different denominations inside of time. But in reality, they don't exist, because inside of the reality itself, we are not divided inside of those things. That was the context in which the mind evolved into its perfection. But now that we are inside of the perfection, we don't have that delay of we are actually simultaneous with all things. We are balanced. Yeah, balance. The balanced mind is and understands all things. The balanced heart feels and loves all things. And the balanced moment of physical existence is the actual moment of physical existence. The balanced moment of physical existence is the actual moment of physical existence. The actual moment, right here. You know, me and the computer are like the physical existence. Remember, in the planet Earth, in evolution, we never had the moment of physical existence. We didn't know what that was. The moment was something that we're going and bypassing and going, blah, 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 blah. The moment of physical existence is a trip because it's the moment of balance in which everything moves with everything, is interconnected with everything, knows everything. It is the instant that the physicists call quantum entanglement. It's the moment when you move thinking in the universe, the other ones are instantaneously, without time, is moving. So balance is a divine thing. It's the moment itself. It's the fifth dimension, the center of the sphere of life, the center of the sphere of life. Yeah. And remember that we are the sphere. You are the sphere. Yeah. Because nothing exists without the understanding, comprehension, feeling of your own self, because we are the consciousness of unity that knows itself as wholeness within wholeness. Beautiful. So what do you think? How is everything? It's good? Anything that you need to know? I can continue with a little bit anything that you want to. I can go a little bit into the realms of unity, into the realms of beauty, but I think it will be nice to do it next time, because the realms of beauty is a big deal, because the realms of unity, beauty is called the illumination of life. And it is balance is the fulfillment, and the illumination is the consciousness existing inside of the fulfillment. What is the consciousness of beauty? You know, and the consciousness of beauty is a muse, it's the muse of life. It's everything is beautiful. And the reason that everything is beautiful, because the mind existing inside of the realms of unity sees everything from the perspective of light. Everything is light, different colors, different forms, different shapes, different energy. And inside of that existence, everything is informative back into you. Everything is, that's what the Garden of Eden was. We live in an ideal place in which everything that we saw, it was saw us as well. And everything that we saw, we knew it. But we didn't have a mind developed, understanding what that was. So the whole thing about the Garden of Eden, if you have to make it simple, it was that everything that it was known, felt, and experienced had no mind, and therefore had no knowledge. So when it had no knowledge, the very things, the components of the garden decided that they wanted to have full knowledge of it. And having full knowledge of it, that means that you have to return the Garden of Eden, the tree of life, got covered with the tree of good and evil, which means that you began the reinstatement or the instatement of duality came into being. And then here we are in the world, discovering through ourselves everything in order to find what it was. But it was a long voyage. You know, look how long it took us. How many civilizations it took us to come back home, and the full knowledge of it. So now we have the consciousness. That's the reason it's a new consciousness. The new consciousness has the full knowledge of that which was being given. So what that means is that you will never lose it. You only lose things that you don't have knowledge. Things are mysterious because you don't have knowledge. You don't know them. Things are elusive because you don't know them. So the whole voyage became complete in the moment that the knowledge of eternal time becomes restated. And then in the moment that it becomes restated, you will never lose it. It is impossible, because to lose it, it means that you have to be separated from the field and go back into another field. You can never be separated from the field. That is your eternal nature. You are here, you are now home. That's it. And the most wonderful thing, that you have the knowledge of all things, including the things that you don't know yet. Including the things that I don't know yet, because there are certain things I don't know. But the reason I don't know them, because my nervous system and my consciousness is not yet, have not made all those pieces. But inside of me, I know them already, but I don't know the detail, let's put it that way. And the details are going to be very beautiful, because it will be a fabric that is going to appear in your life. And it's going to be revealed by a flower, or by a dress, or by your husband and your love, or by you buying something. It's going to be, all the context is going to come as the experience of the renewal, the experience of the beauty of life. That's beautiful. That's what we're going to talk about next time. Beauty, and then love, because of course the balance, beauty, and love are the same thing, the Trinity, the cross, the second cross of the tree of life, balance, beauty, and love. They are the first cross of the tree of life, consciousness, unity, and whole awareness, crown, going up into crown. Physical existence, whole nature, which is the whole physical form of creation. Infinite regeneration, which is the moment in which existence and renewal comes up in the present. And then foundation paradise. Foundation paradise means that the very nature of the grounding nature of your physical existence is simultaneous with the crown, simultaneous with the fountain of life. So the down and the up are simultaneous within you. My sense of grounding and my sense of becoming are included in the moment of life and no longer compressive by gravity, because it never was. Gravity never wanted to compress me. So the compression will live completely from my soul, because I am one between the gravitational connection to the planet or the solar system or the center of the universe, which is paradise, because they're simultaneous. But I'm also simultaneous with the becoming. So I'm inside of the fountain. That's what the fountain means. The lowest point and the highest point. I can't use the word lowest point. The grounding point and the becoming point are simultaneous. Yeah, the lowest, you know what I mean? That's problem, because in the lowest, we categorize lowest as something that is less than the highest, but they are simultaneous with existence, just like balance is simultaneous with the dualistic interpretation of consciousness. Yeah. So anyway, I love you. I don't know what to say. We are a little bit early today. This is a big gift. I'm 10 minutes early. That means that we're doing great. That's wonderful. Do you any I don't know what the word is.
Does anybody have questions?
Any questions? Any comments? Any anything? But I think I sense it now that you're all becoming more and more one with me. That you understand me what I'm saying, and that sometimes I miss you a little bit. You go, but you return. It's not like from then on you just continue going like that. Now you go like this, but you return, and most of you are with me all the time, which means that we are all becoming part of the same field of consciousness. That we are understanding what that means, and that is a divine thing. It's a divine thing for me, because for a while I was in the left field up there. No, I am not, but I never was. But you know what I mean. It's like to try to convey something like the new consciousness is complex, because it's from the perspective of the happiness and the beauty and all of it. It seems like you're in another world, of course, and you are in another world, because it's a consciousness that is the existence of the nature itself. But then, if you're trying to understand it from the perspective of the complexity of duality, I'm a little bit like ready to be taken into the mud house. You know what I mean? And I understand why the consciousness will be that way. So all that needs to be shortened and shortened and shortened. So the divine nature of what we're expressing is just as simple as having a cup of tea and a cookie in the kitchen and having fun. Yeah, because it has to become the same thing. You know what I mean? The moment has to become naturally all-encompassing within our sense of self. And that's what the knowledge of eternal time means. That you can partake of any part of your daily day, and yet at the same time, we always connected to the extraordinary exalted nature of your being and the extraordinary clarity of your brilliant mind. So this is fantastic. You know what I mean? You can get to be completely dorky if you need to, because at the same time you get to be the most divine, exalted being. And you can be all of it, because everything is transformed by your interaction with it. You're changing everything. All right. So I love you. I guess you're not going to say anything other than you love. Oh, you have to wish me a wonderful happy birthday, because in 2 days it's going to be my birthday. So you have to. I was telling Carolina, I said, please don't tell anybody that it's my birthday. But right now, I think, why not? It's going to be my birthday.
Birthday.
So,
right.
my 82 birthday. I'm going to be 82. Isn't that wonderful? And 82, you know what it means? You know, the 80s in age is the realms of nature. 70s is the realms of self. 60s is the realms of beauty. 50 are the realms of balance. 40 as the realms of, you know, the 10 dimensions are realms of 10 in relation to time. So 82 means that I am 80 in the realms of nature, but experiencing the consciousness of my nature.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic, really good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 82. Yeah. So then 82, 8 and 2 are 10. So I'm fine. I'm really good. So anyway, I love you all. Fantastic. I get to see you soon. Remember that if you hear in the blogs, just keep writing. We keep putting pictures, you know, putting everything. Carolina and Nancy and I, all of us are doing great job. Okay. I adore you. Have fun. Eat something wonderful. And the day of my birthday, eat something wonderful for me. I just thinking, you know, that I love sweets, you know, so wonderful. Okay, celebrate it like that. I love you.
Thank you, Christy.
Ciao, ciao, ciao,
Thank
ciao.
you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.